Hey guys, boy, I got yet another story. I'm actually checking for other damage that I wasn't aware of right now, but my pole barn got struck by lightning on Wednesday about noon, and it did something I didn't think was possible. Of course, with Mother Nature, everything is possible, right? Anyway, thank God my RV wasn't under here, so I waited around for a couple minutes. Um, so if you don't follow my Facebook page, I now have another motorhome. So this time I went for an older one, but and it actually has a Cat 400 horsepower instead of a Cummins, which I've been trying to avoid Cat because I know Cummins has a little bit better reputation on miles per gallon and easier to get worked on. In fact, our local truck place where I've always gone for work on my Cummins, they don't touch Cat at all. So, but there is a Cat dealer here in town, which they seem nice enough, but they're booked out for 3+ weeks before they can even do an oil change. So that's kind of my worst fear. But we have looked and looked, and there just hasn't been anything that would work for us. We ran across this one, and it's definitely what we were looking for in terms of features, age, price. It's an '05. I didn't want to go with DEF. I wanted to be in those really golden years of RVs, which '05, '06 were probably the best years in the RV industry in terms of having a mix of late technology, but not like the later years of just terrible quality. So, but it does have time working against it. So, it's getting old now. It's what, 17? Yeah, 17 years old, which kind of sucks. Um, but anyway, so I've kind of been focused on getting the RV situated. We had to deal with a few issues, some repairs that were going to be done before we bought it, and then follow up inspections and make sure everything was up to what I expected. There were some shortcomings, but at the end of the day, we really wanted an RV. So here we are with an RV. And ironically, we were going to actually be up here on Wednesday around 11:30 or so is when we were expecting to pull in my pole barn and plug this thing in. And because the weather was a little bit, really, it wasn't even because it wasn't the bad weather that bothered me. It's this driveway. Uh, there are kind of some red clay that comes up in a couple areas, and I didn't want to drive through, red, wet clay and get all over the tires and everything else. So I said, you know what, let's just take it home and we'll come back up here. But had that not been the case, I would have been standing right here on Wednesday at 11:30, and I would have been working on plugging everything in, and basically just hooking things up, and we would have been here for sure. We would have been right here where I'm standing at. Always back the RV in. Right over there's where I plug it in at. So we'll come around the back of the RV here, and then go down this way to the power, right? Well, let me show you. Let me show you guys what's going on here. Right overhead. Can you see it? I can't even see it, but it's there. Oh yeah, it'll let us zoom. Look at that. 50 caliber bullet hole. Otherwise known as a lightning strike, and I'll go up the ladder to get a little bit closer. It's not what I was expecting to happen, but she bored a nice 3/4 inch hole right in the panel. And I haven't been up top, but I have been all underneath looking around, and I can find absolutely no exit wounds. I can't find any kind of arcing or anything else that shows that the lightning went from that panel to any of the posts or anywhere else. However, what did happen, and this is what really absolutely kind of frightens me right now, is you kind of feel safe. I mean, the hole is right about there in that area. Okay, so you got about 10 feet to the opening in each direction, maybe 8 feet. I don't know. Yeah, I'd say about 10 feet. So 10 feet in, 10 feet out from there. So roughly where the ladder is sitting at is where it struck over. And would you believe that the next point of contact for the lightning is on my shed? And not only is it on my shed, but it is right over here. The only place that I can find a burn mark where it's not touching another panel is right there. So, and it's about a third the size. So as best as I can tell, and it's not a direct, I mean this actually sticks out, you know, it would have to go under. So as best as I can tell, that bolt jumped down from where it struck, right there over the ladder. There's your ladder. Let's see if I can zoom in. Where the hole is at. Where are you, hole? Well, it doesn't matter, but it's right there, okay? It's 1.5 above that double board, so it's gonna be right about here. Somewhere right up in that area. You see that knot right there? All right, it's the next one up and over a couple, so right there. See the hole there? There's your roof line, and there's your point of contact. You can see it arced on the U-channel, the ends of it, and it actually caused a, it also welded that wall panel to the U-channel, and then down here it tried to weld the U-channels together, and that's actually on the back side of that as well. That was pretty close to, you know, that could have been a bad situation. You can kind of see up in there too that it burned. And not only that, but this is what the really crazy thing is. Okay, we're going to assume that's our entry point because there's no other reason for it to be a hole right there in that area. And you see how it jumped over onto that U channel or J channel, whatever you want to call it. But look at this crap. Panel to panel, look at the arcs. Well, there we go. Like little spot welds all the way down. Let me zoom back here. This is all over the front of the shed too, by the way. One there. There's one right here. You can see how it's shot out that way. We got one down here. Right here. And that's not just that panel. I mean, look at this panel. It went all the way down the length of this panel. You can see these things. A big one right there. The outlet didn't bother it at all. Come up high. There's a bunch over there. Same thing over here. I mean, it just destroyed the appearance of this, you know. I mean, you could claim that's probably be an insurance claim, you know. It's a cosmetic thing. There's holes all the way through the metal now. I mean, yeah. Anyway, it's all over the place. It's all on the front of the building here, even all the way over here on this end. You can see some up here. There. I mean, that was one heck of a dang little pop right there. Now, when you get down here, I don't remember seeing anything on this side. So for whatever reason, it went to this panel, and it seems to have stopped here at this panel. Now, there is a screw that penetrates this panel and here as well, just like the roof. So there's really no reason for it to arc from point to point on the roof because they did a seam, what they call a stitch, where you put a screw in the overlapping panel to the next one. And even though that's not what the manufacturer recommends, had I done that on the wall like the roofers did, then it wouldn't have arced, and it would have certainly saved the appearance of these panels. But all I can figure is it continues on down this way. You're on the other end of the building now. Same thing. Same thing. And then we've got another overlap with a screw through it, so we know it would not have arced to this. And we come around the panel there, which is strange because, you know, I don't know. It's pretty close in where this goes through the metal. You know, it might have burned through there. I haven't taken the cap off to see. But once again, when we get to the next overlap, I don't see, or I haven't seen, any traces of the crazy burning and arcing. Nothing. So it stops when it gets to this panel. So my theory is that it jumped to that ground, either burned through this or it jumped from here to here somewhere. I haven't seen any evidence of it. Of course, it fried. I think everything inside is fried. It burned up wiring. It blew the breakers in here. I've got 60 amp breakers over there that were tripped. I had the power coming in on a extension cord because I need to figure out how to do buried and get it, over to the building here, or I was actually going to run up that post and just run it across here. If I had done that, then it probably would have got lightning more into the shop. Whereas with this laying on the ground, if it did get into this cord, and even though it tripped the breaker, it probably arced out through this cord as well. But yeah, I've never seen the. I do have, and I'll upload it. I do have a camera on the front of that building. Unfortunately, I haven't added the one that was going to look back this way to that building yet, and I wish I had. I've thought many times that this pole barn has likely been hit by lightning in the past, although there are no holes in it. But I figured, it'd certainly be likely to be hit at some point, and it would be cool to have camera footage on it. But I actually have a camera that looks in this direction, which is right there. That camera was on, but they always, for whatever reason, the way that they process the image and the delay between when something occurs and it actually gets spit out to the network is long enough that I've never been able to pick up anything from lightning that's knocked out a camera. I take that back. I one time had a close strike that it caught part of it. It caught the brightness occurring about a third of a frame, and then it just went out. So yeah, all the cameras. Now I've also got a camera on the other side of that fence out in the front, and that camera went out and is no longer functioning. That's the second one of those cameras to go out from lightning. And my generator, who knows if it, I just had it repaired again. It had a 1-inch hole in the circuit board. They replaced it, and I went out and checked it a few days later, and it worked, but it was a dead screen. I had to reset it to come up. I haven't been out, haven't had time to look at it since then. So let's see. Yeah, so the camera that's looking that way, it has that black truck in it, and I do have, you can see the bolt off the window, reflecting off the window of the truck. I'll try to upload that later if I think of it. But the funny thing is that tree right over there is the tallest thing anywhere around. It's a 100-plus-year-old pine tree over there. Had a sister tree that went down in the hurricane, but that's the only pine that survived that I have. You can see all the neighbors' pines. That's one of the cousins right there. That one didn't make it. It lasted a while after the hurricane, but it ultimately succumbed. That one over there lasted a little bit longer, and it died. Yeah, the house is fine. I've actually got a renter in the house now, and he was here. That's actually a good question. I think he was here Wednesday night, but I might be wrong. I'll have to look that up. But I can tell you the shop is fine, and the camera system, all that's still functioning fine. Like I said, the shop camera survived. For privacy, I don't have cameras on the house over there anymore. Now that it's rented, I don't think it's right to have a camera on somebody else's house. So I took those down. But certainly I monitor my stuff over here. I just need to add more cameras, and I actually brought them over. I just didn't install them. I just haven't had a chance yet. But man, I sure wish I did, because it would have just been cool to see what happened when that lightning struck. And unfortunately, I just don't have any footage of that. So, but yeah, I need to find out, because I think. So he told me he was leaving for the holiday around. I thought it was Thursday, but yeah, I probably need to go and check and make sure everything is okay over there. But I think it is. Like I said, the shop didn't even lose power, and the shop does share power with this meter though. And the breaker for this shed was out. All the other breakers were okay. And like I said, the shop was up and running. Everything works over there that I've tested. So I feel like it was pretty isolated to this one thing here. And I've been all around the building. I can't find any other traces. But if this building And you kind of feel like you're somewhat safe under a metal roof, but this has really kind of changed my mind about a lot of things. There's a bit of overlap here. Not a lot. I mean, the face of that is very much in line. And this was intentional because I was at one time going to enclose all this. And I thought, well, I'll just line this up because then we can just come down and, wall this in and have half the walls already here. And so that's kind of what the plan was before I decided I didn't want to live out here anymore after the hurricane. So, yeah, man, I just thought I'd show you guys that because it's something to think about, Let's just say, hypothetically, this had been my shop, my enclosed shop over there. And let's hypothetically say that the car lift was right here. Well, certainly that bolt would have come down from where it hit into this area. It would have struck the top of the lift at a minimum. And let's just hypothetically say I was installing my Holley Dominator system and had the wiring harness plugged into the Holley and maybe had some of it laying on the ground. It's inside a metal building. It's, it's on a lift. It should be fine. But I mean, in theory, if you're to believe what you're seeing here, you're not even really safe inside under a metal roof if that's what the lightning wants to do. If that's where it wants to go, that's where it's going to go, and you're not going to do anything about it. So, pretty wild. Pretty dadgum wild is what I'm thinking. Anyway, let's see. I don't have a lot of time. I'm actually just coming out here to pick up the 49. Going to get a couple of tools for some things on the RV, and I'll probably do a video from the RV. I see somebody saying something about a lift. Now I gotta scroll back. Yeah, I was just thinking, what if, in theory, the lift got hit and it started moving, so there you go. I guess it is possible, and that would have really sucked if you had a project, maybe the engine hoist over the front of the car, and it's going to, can you imagine picking up a hoist and then it sliding and the hook of it catching the front end of your car, and oh man, what a disaster. We're all just here by luck, apparently. But yeah, what I'd like to do is hook power up out here and see if these cameras are up and running. And it really makes me wish, I've thought about it a few times. I can put an SD card in a lot of these cameras and they'll record locally and certainly have a better chance of catching an event like that. But can you imagine what that camera would have seen here? I mean, it must have really been a sight to see. And I really, even if I did have a camera on the shop, it probably wouldn't have, because of the car trailer and the tree, it probably wouldn't have caught this, but it would have been really something to see, to see if that bolt, I mean, I don't see any other way that could have happened. I mean, there's a hole in the front of the shed where there's no reason for there to be a hole, and there's a hole in the roof of the pole barn. So as far as I'm concerned, that bolt came down, boom, went right through here. I suppose it's possible that it forked off, came through that opening and went around and under it, but I don't know. I wish I knew, because I would definitely feel a lot different working in my shop in a bad storm than I have been. Knowing that it could be hit and melt a hole in it and quite possibly continue on down and jump to something else, like, maybe me standing there. So yeah, the chance of a building that I own getting hit again and getting a hole blown in it's probably pretty freaking close to zero. But man, I have some bad luck with weather out here, Cat 5 hurricanes and lightning and God knows what's next out here. Anyway, switching vehicles, getting the 49, got to get some tools. I'll try to upload later on. Yeah, Derek, man, I don't know. It's been getting crazy lately. We know the weather cycle is definitely a little bit wilder than it has been with these this warming cycle, or whatever you want to call it. It's definitely, I would definitely agree that the storms are a little bit more interesting than they used to be. Of course, it used to be really cold in the 70s. So, weather has its cycles. But Anyway, I'll try to upload later on from the RV, show you guys the newest item in the fleet. So we'll catch you guys later on.